Let's begin with a question. What distinguishes a free man from a slave? In Skyrim, the answer is simple. You're the Dragonborn. You choose the path. But in Enderal, that freedom is an illusion. You're a stowaway, a pathless nobody in a machine of eternal recurrence. Today, we're diving into why Enderal is so much more than just a Skyrim mod, a masterclass of intelligent writing, beautiful world building, and overwhelming passion. 10 years ago today, a team of modders asked a simple question. What if we used Skyrim's engine to build an entirely new RPG? Not a quest mod, not a new lands expansion, an entirely different game. New world, new progression, new combat systems, new voice acting. That result was Enderal, which is available for 100% free on Steam and GOG as long as you own Skyrim. Today, on Enderal's 10th anniversary, we're diving deep into this game's entire 40-hour main campaign, full analysis of all guild questlines, and highlighting some of the other secrets I felt worth mentioning. This video took me well over 100 hours to create from start to finish in a 28,000-word script, so please consider dropping a like on the video. A week or two after this video drops, there will be a second video essay covering all my favorite side quests, so be sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. But with all that out of the way, welcome to Enderal, modded Skyrim's magnum opus. We awake in some kind of field. There's livestock, a small cottage, and our father out front, chopping wood. Seems innocent enough, unless you choose to wander from the beaten path. Corpses, grave sites, and cannibalistic memoirs litter the perimeter, and the music keeps you on edge the whole time. As we make our way up the hill, we run into Daddy. His demeanor is immediately uncanny, the way he speaks unsettling, and his chopping block covered with blood.
Say, why don't you go inside and see if you can help Mommy with the cooking? The Creator was kind to us today and sent a big fat elk right in front of my bow. All right?
Daddy tells us to go inside the house and help our mother prepare supper, but as soon as we enter, we can tell something isn't right. Inside the house, we find many unsettling things. Human anatomical diagrams with cleavers, bloodstains, and large quantities of unknown meat lying around. As we enter the kitchen, Daddy appears behind us, and when we question where the rest of our family is, he tells us we murdered them. We can plead that it wasn't us, that it was the masked men, but to no avail.
Oh, by the Creator's name, why are you telling these lies? Isn't it enough that you murdered us? Do you really have to bother me over and over with your stupid, pathetic, and pointless whining? You know, sometimes I wish the Creator would have made me just a little less merciful. Just a little less pious. Because then I would have realized that you were tainted by sin long before any of this had ever happened. Yes, I should have killed you. I should have just killed you. Just like you killed us. And now, you think you're safe because we're all under the earth, don't you? Well, listen up, my child. You are wrong. And do you know why? Because the dead don't forget. Do you hear me? The dead don't forget. Now enough of this useless chatter. I'm bloody starving. Bring me the meat, you spoiled brat. Bring it to me. Bring me a nice crisp piece of meat. Bring me a nice crisp piece of meat! Bring me a nice crisp piece of meat! Bring me a nice crisp piece of meat! Bring me a nice crisp piece of meat!
A nice day in summer. Not what I would call that mission. We are now presented with a cinematic bringing us up to date with the current political and religious climate of Enderal. It's worth it to note that this recaps the final events of Nehrim, which was the Oblivion overhaul. This cinematic tells us the world of Vin was ruled by the Lightborn for 4,000 years. 7 powerful mages essentially elevated themselves to godhood and allowed themselves to be worshipped. However, as time passed, they were accused of tyranny and were rebelled against by a man named Narathul Aranthiel. He gathered an army, recruited your player character in Narim, and slayed the Lightborn. However, their death set something else into motion. Machines, having been inactive for centuries, begin to stir. After this cinematic, we wake up as a stowaway on a ship, sailing from Narim to Enderal. We tell our friend Sirius about the nightmare we had with Daddy, and you can create your character. We're half Narimese and half something else, which you get to pick. I chose half Eterna because I wanted to try the new dark magic spell schools, Psionics and Entropy, which I'll touch on soon. After creating our character, we're also introduced to the game's disposition system. Certain dialogue options will increase or decrease NPCs' favor with you. This can lead to new quests, better prices with merchants, and new dialogue options. As we're chatting, we overhear guards approaching. Unfortunately, we're going to be spotted and have to throw some hands to keep ourselves hidden. When we're forced to deal with the bodies, a strange woman appears in the doorway. Our friend and I beg her not to say anything, but something about her is off. This woman uses some kind of magic to lift us up and knock us out. Next thing we know, we're awake on the deck getting chewed out by the captain. Our friend isn't so lucky, and neither are we. We're knocked out and thrown overboard to our deaths. We get flashes of the bottom of the ocean and a violent vision.
Breathe. Tell me, what is time?
To the dead, dreaming anyway.
So many people just talk, and
How
never
does it feel to be powerless?
This is about your damn pride, Tina.
I know I'm not real. At least not according to your definition.
I know damn well I'm evil.
It's just... There was nothing I could do.
This isn't happening. But then again,
This just isn't happening.
What is reality anyway?
Selfish fool!
We awake on a beach, not dead, but with a weird fever. We stumble around looking for basic supplies and are introduced to some of the most important mechanics of the game. Welcome to Tutorial Island, except it's not really an island. Welcome to Tutorial Beach and Cave. Here we will learn the major mechanical differences between Skyrim and Enderal that are essential for your adventure. 1. No passive health regen. If you're hurt, you need to eat, food, or sleep. There are very limited ways to heal while in combat, all of which give you arcane fever. 2. What is arcane fever? It's like a sanity meter for certain spells, potions, and environmental effects. If this hits 100%, you die. Learn to use magic better to negate this or buy some very expensive ambrosia. 3. Experience is not gained in the same fashion as Skyrim. You get flat XP for kills, quests, exploring, etc. When you level up, you get points to then upgrade your skills. 4. To upgrade your skills, you must study. If you have 5 learning points available, you can train 5 times on whatever you want, but to spend those points, you need books, which can be found in the open world or bought from merchants. Finally, the most important, number 5, Enderal's world is not scaled. We start in this green zone in the bottom left and at level 1, so everything is going to be insanely hard. But if we come back to this same area at level 15, it would be a piece of cake. Loot also isn't scaled either, so if you trek all the way to an endgame zone and kill an enemy, you will be rewarded with endgame loot, so there's some nice risk and reward. Those are all the basics you need to understand for the video. Even if you never plan to play Enderal, I'm going to say stuff that would leave you scratching your head if the only context you had was from Skyrim. After the tutorial area, we're stopped by 2 apothecary who have camped out near the river. One of them is able to recognize my weird fever I woke up with and gives me something to help. He tells us there's been a strange disturbance in the wildlife, acting far more aggressive than usual, and he also fills us in on Enderal's societal structure. Essentially, the people here are segregated into a caste system. This is generally decided by birth and governs your role in society, but there are some exceptions, which we will learn about soon enough. At the end of this conversation, our head pulses and we get a weird glimpse into the future, where the two apothecaries in this camp have suffered from an attack. When we tell them about it, they have no idea what we're talking about, and moments later, this happens.
Oh shit! What the? Carbos! Carbos! Do something, damn it!
Now look at that. Our mysterious survivor has awoken.
We awake in someone's camp who has pulled us from the aftermath. Jespar is a quick-witted but contemplative mercenary who just happened upon us by chance. He is one of the most important characters in the game. The spin-off book series is all about him. He has an exclusive questline if your disposition is high enough and is one of the very few romanceable characters. Anyway, Jespar is able to pick up on your fever and identifies it as the Arcanist's fever. We woke up unusually strong and somewhat adept with magic, despite never having used it before. Basically, we hit magical puberty when we almost died, and we need someone to treat the fever before it spirals out of control, and Jespar knows just the guy, his boss. Before he can take us to him, he asks for our help with a small task of his. He confirms what the apothecary said. Docile creatures are now incredibly hostile, but in addition to that, the dead are waking up. The strangest thing, though, is the red madness. This illness is sweeping across the country of Enderal, turning people insane and their eyes blood red. Jespar's boss sent him to investigate an unusually gifted mage, Yarrow. Yarrow was a teacher at the temple, the Holy Order, someone you'd assume would be untouchable by the madness, except one day he showed up for a lecture and blew up the auditorium and all of his students. He grew up in the Sun Coast, and Jespar was hired to investigate. The story setup for Enderal is now complete, and we can finally explore the starting region of the Sun Coast. There's about 8 hours of content to do here, but I obviously can't recap everything. However, lucky for you, I recorded my full Let's Play of this run, and you can find a playlist of that on screen or in the description below. After speaking with the townsfolk and investigating the nearby area, we discover Yarrow had a surprising affinity for magic. He was originally born a manufacturer, the second lowest rung on the caste system. However, when his talent was recognized, he was recruited by the Order of Enderal and skyrocketed to the top. We'll learn more about the Order later, but for now all we know is it's a theocracy that rules most of Enderal under the orders of the Lightborn, those mages that we learned about in the intro that are all now dead. Anyway, Yarrow and his wife moved to Ark, the capital city, and set up a food bank for the underprivileged. Unfortunately, Yarrow's wife was murdered by the very people she tried to help, making Yarrow consider taking his own life. We descend into Yarrow's basement with Jespar and uncover something odd, a fire elemental. Yarrow is clearly dabbling in dark magic, and in addition to that, his wife's mummified remains are found further in. This normally wouldn't be weird to see in Skyrim, especially if you were doing the Dark Brotherhood questline, but in Enderal, it's illegal to not cremate corpses. By the shrine, we find a final note from Yarrow. He blames himself for his wife's death and believes mankind has come to its end. He calls the red madness enlightening, and that humanity has chosen the void, and if it's the void they want, he'll deliver it. We know right after this, Yarrow went to a lecture with glowing red eyes, screaming of humanity needing to be cleansed before blowing himself up along with 30 students. We have enough evidence now collected that we can return to Jespar's employer and finally get our fever checked out by an actual mage. His boss, however, is an Ark, which is quite a journey from Riverville, the little town of the Sun Coast we've been in for the past few hours. Again, the world is not scaled. I would suggest being at least level 7 before doing this trek because although beautiful, the combat encounters are the next level of difficulty up. As we reach the mountaintop, Jespar pulls us aside to chat. Good time to mention the unique dialogue options in this game. Double arrows cut to the chase and progress the conversation. Knowledge gives you some deeper insight on the lore or history of the world. It's optional, but every 10 knowledge checks gives you +1 to all of your skills. It's very good. And if you're an achievement hunter, there's a Steam achievement if you find all of the knowledge checks. Rhetorics is basically a speech check from Fallout. If that skill is high enough, you will get access to unique dialogue, content, and alternate quest options. Similar to Fallout, speech is insanely powerful in Enderal. I highly recommend leveling rhetorics. There's also just regular dialogue options too. Anyway, with a knowledge check, Jespar tells us Enderal as a country is very isolated from the others. They cut ties with most trading partners across the world so that the government could control the flow of information. Probably why most of the people we met here still believe the Lightborn are alive. There's no one to tell them otherwise. After some more combat and a few little side quests here and there, we've made it to the capital city of Ark. This place is gorgeous and one of the biggest fantasy cities I've ever seen in an RPG. There's 13 fast travel points inside of it. Right now, though, we're meeting Jespar in the marketplace and heading up to the Holy Order to speak with his boss. We learn a few things on this walk that are interesting narratively. Enderal, as a country, primarily praises Malthus, one of the 7 Lightborn. He's carved into the mountain looming above Ark and holding up the Sun Temple. This is where the Order operates out of, whom are essentially Enderal's government and serve the Lightborn. The Order take in all magically talented individuals and submit them to their cause. In exchange, they get rid of this weird fever and teach us how to harness our magical abilities. Once we make it inside the temple grounds, Jespar tells us his employer is a Neramese mage, which, if you remember from the introduction, previously was allied with Narathsul Aranthiel, who overthrew the Lightborn. The Order of Enderal are basically the Naramese's arch enemies, but for some reason they're working together. The Lightborn believers and the ones who killed them. This will be explained a little bit later in the story, but for now, we meet with Jespar's boss, the Neramese mage, and he analyzes our aura. He explains the magic system in this universe, which is a little complicated. Basically, magic in the world of Vin isn't really magic. It's more like the many worlds interpretation in quantum mechanics. Mages in this universe don't really cast Fireball. Instead, they find one of the infinite universes where a fireball exists in that exact spot, in that exact moment, and merge that timeline with theirs. Essentially, every mage is casting wormholes from other realities. This fever we have is because our brain is processing all of these realities at once, and we need to dial down the sensitivity a bit. To do that, we need to meet with a woman, Lashari, while Jespar fills in Firespark here with the details on Yarrow. Before we depart, Jespar comes up to you and asks for a drink. These are companion quests, and they're timed. If you don't do them fast enough, they expire and limit your options with these characters later in the game. Because they don't have direct influence on the story, I'm going to put them in a separate chapter of this video where we analyze the major companion quests and the characters themselves. For now, we're off to visit Lashari in an ancient ruin from a previous civilization. Did they just reuse the Dwemer assets for Enderal's long-lost civilization? Yeah, but I can excuse it. It fits pretty well with the lore. As we enter the area where Lashari is, we almost walk right into an arcane explosion. She appears behind us, and we tell her who we are. She tells us these ruins house ancient stone fragments from a previous civilization, documenting something historically important. As Lashari and her team were excavating these items, a group of mercenaries entered the ruin and killed most of her team while setting the fragments on fire. We need to run around extinguishing the flames and save as many tablet fragments as we can while fending off the mercenary group. You can fail this mission if you're not fast enough, so keep that in mind. I was able to save all the fragments and tell Lashari a bit about our backstory. She has a sneaking suspicion about us, but she won't tell us her theory because she has to confer with the Order first. Anyway, she performs the ritual and almost kills us. She blames our aura, which reinforces this theory of hers that she won't tell us about, but at least it worked. Our mind isn't collapsing in on itself anymore. We can still accumulate arcane fever, but our risk of instant death has dropped a lot. We head back to the Sun Temple and finally meet the man in charge of the Holy Order, Tealor Aranthiel, the father of Nerethul Aranthiel who felled the Lightborn. We walk in on him and his right hand arguing about something called the Cycle. Very worried about the mercenaries that appeared during our last quest. They were after something called the Signet Stone, which doesn't mean anything to us right now. He finally introduces himself to us and tells us that he believes we are special. Humanity is facing a world-ending threat, and we will help him thwart it. He confirms that the Lightborn are indeed dead, slain by his son. We ask him why not reveal this fact to the people. He says 2 countries, Kira and Kile, both did that and threw themselves into civil war. Tealor has been having dreams similar to ours at the very start of the game. In fact, several magically sensitive people have had this exact vision. This led the Order and the Naramis to join forces and find the cause, and they did. This vision is a shared memory from a previous civilization long gone, and this is what they discovered. You mean the dreams originate from what? A common mind?
A collective subconscious, yes. I know that you can feel it too, and probably far more intense than we do. But like you back then, we were not able to make sense of the images, so we went looking for answers in the remains of the civilization that was before us, the Pyreans. First, there were many civilizations before us and before the Pyreans. Maybe hundreds, maybe thousands. Second, the history of each civilization unfolded and still unfolds according to a pattern. They emerge, they blossom, and at some point, at the apex of their existence, they simply disappear without any trace. And third, everything that has happened in the past years, and which is still happening, indicates that this disappearance lies ahead of us. We are part of an eternal loop, a cycle, and our cycle is approaching its end.
Tealor tells us that the civilization before us, the Pyreans, had a very similar societal structure. Humans ascended to godhood, a caste system, and the eventual overthrowing of the so-called deities. Shortly after, the Pyreans vanished without a trace. They tried to prevent it, but nothing worked. They called this event the cleansing. Everyone just laid down and died. No war, no famine, just death. Finally, we're told our role in all of this. Every time this cycle happens, certain characters appear. Tealor Aranthiel has been thrust into the role of the leader, and us, we're suspected to be the prophet, who has the ability to look into the past, which in this case is extremely helpful, since we can see what exactly is going to happen to us and how to potentially stop this cycle. Our next step is to become an official member of the Order, and to do that, we must pass a test. Our trial to join the Order takes us to the Whisperwood, a dark, foggy, unruly chunk of land west of Ark. Within this biome, there is magically infused fauna and crystals which can increase your arcane fever if you get too close. We meet with Signet leader Jorik, who's not too happy that we, a Pathless, the lowest on the caste system, is being allowed to undertake this trial and become a member of the temple, but he can't argue against the Grandmaster's wishes. We meet our fellow initiates, Calia and piece of shit Dunwar. Calia is another romanceable companion with a unique questline, but again, we're going to be covering that in a different chapter of the video. As we make our way through this creepy forest, we come across several bugs that need squashing. Along the road a bit further, we run into this man, who seems unresponsive.
She's with me now, forever.
Kirash.
What? You there! Who are you, and what are you doing here?
She's with me now, forever.
What are you, deaf? Identify yourself!
His eyes. Master, this is the Red Madness.
Shit, of course.
She wanted to leave me, just like that.
This is
But now,
disgusting.
she will stay. She...
Oh, piece of shit Dunwar kills him, and pissed off our signet leader who says our academics could have used a specimen like this infected man to learn more about the Red Madness. A bit further down the road, we come across an old temple. Signet leader Jorik breaks the news that the Lightborn are indeed dead, which sends my fellow initiates into a spiral. Dunwar calls Calia a witch. This will be important for her backstory, but for now, we're gonna drink a potion and undergo this trial. We wake up in a prison, sharing a cell with someone named Ixon. He tells us some interesting things that we should keep note of.
If I told you that you and your friend Sirius actually lie dead at the bottom of the sea, and that everything that has happened so far, your journey to Ark, the search at the Sun Coast, was only a dream, would you be able to recognize the truth? The answer is no. Because you don't want to be dead. Therefore, your mind will do anything to make you believe this entire dream you've had was and is reality.
With Ixon in tow, we navigate through this mind prison, and at the very end, we end up right back in the cell we started in. When all hope is lost, there's only one thing left to do.
Well, well. So you figured it out? Yes. I am what keeps you in this place. But was it blind rage that made you act, or have you truly understood who I am? Have you understood what drives you and determines your actions? The salt corrodes your skin, and the water filling your lungs is cold. But you still haven't found it, child, have you?
We wake up in the Sun Temple, safe and sound, while Jespar is close by keeping an eye on us. Only something about him is off. Fine, I guess. Where are we?
In the temple. The curarium, to be precise. You were brought here when you were traveling with that Ixon guy. I think the others are already awake, but I didn't want to leave you here, so I thought I'd just stay.
The fact that he mentioned the guy from my imagination.
Everyone knows about Ixon, and the fact that you're asking this shows how little you actually understood. You're pathetic, you know that? Simply pathetic.
Excuse me?
I said you are pathetic. At first we believed it would be more exciting this time. But now that we've seen the new prophet, our hopes are gone. You're a joke.
A nobody who let his only friend kick the bucket.
As if you'd ever accept that. You humans are always so damn persistent, aren't you? Why? Why can't you just let go?
Because in the end, you are powerless, just as all those before you. And you, prophet, you are the biggest joke of all.
You are nothing but an urchin.
A weakling.
And a murderer.
And that is why you will burn. All of you. The cleansing will happen, and there's nothing you can do to stop it.
So, you are the ones behind it, aren't you? Why are you doing this? What have we done to you?
What have you done to us? You are so naive. The world is an interplay of cause and effect, and the only logical consequence of your existence is annihilation. That's the way it was, and that's the way it's going to be. But enough of the banter, urchin. We wanted to meet you, and so we did, even though the result is rather sobering. Now wake up! Keep on stumbling through the mist.
Who were those beings? What do they want? Why did they speak to us? All questions that will be answered soon, but clearly they're the ones behind this cycle we've been warned about. We rushed to Telor Ranthiel to report in, only for him to say he had the exact same vision as us, with those beings mocking our resistance to the cycle. He thinks it's because we're both emissaries, those important figures that appeared during this catastrophe. But for now, it's time for me to finally become a member of the Order, and marks the end of the first act of Enderal. As Calia and I are initiated into the Holy Order, I'm tasked with 2 jobs, which the Prophet can choose to take on in any order. The first one I decide to tackle is the Signet Stone. Remember those tablets we found earlier and how those mercenaries were after this Signet Stone? Well, apparently it's an artifact that can be used to stave off the Red Madness. However, it needs a special spell to activate, one we don't have, but a previous civilization might. The Order was lucky enough to come across a Pyrean, a specimen from the last civilization encased in ice. This wasn't just any Pyrean though, this was an acolyte of the previous religion, so it's highly likely he has a memory of the cleansing and what we may need to stop it. To speak to this dead body, however, we need something called the Word of the Dead. To get this artifact, we need to converse with the Aged Man, a legend of Vin, a man who is apparently older than almost every remnant of society, even the Lightborn. The gods of our time told the Holy Order to stay away from him, as he wasn't to be interfered with. Creepy. But luckily, we have our boy Jespar to keep us company, so we don't have to walk up through a haunted forest to a creepy mansion all on our own in the middle of the night. When we get to the mansion and ring the doorbell, a steward rounds the corner to ask what our business is. We were given a special brooch to bargain with, and since the Aged Man is a collector of ancient artifacts, we're permitted inside and given a room to stay for the night. We're told by the steward the Aged Man is busy composing his music and will meet with us in the morning. However, this steward seems too well prepared. He was right at the door when we rang it. He also had a room prepared for us and even cooked us a meal. Something is weird here, and Jespar feels it too. We have to wait a few hours before we can sneak off and find the Word of the Dead. As we walk through the halls of this house, we hear the Aged Man's music playing. Paired with the charred corpse-like mannequins littering the halls, it's pretty damn creepy. We make our way inside the study, and after solving a puzzle, a trapdoor falls out from under us and we descend, leaving Jespar behind. At the end of this tunnel, we come across this terrifying room. On the far side, the corpse of a woman is suspended in water. She seems to think we're someone called Gages, and that she's sleeping on a journey somewhere. She says she's sorry we have to go through with this, that she believes in our dream, whatever that means. In the middle of this sanctum is another trapdoor, which leads us down to this odd chamber. Palm trees, crystals, and an odd statue sit centered in this circular room. At the foot of the statue is the artifact we came for. Using the Archmagister's spell to summon the frozen Pyrean, we're able to use the Word of the Dead and transport inside his mind. We awake in the memory of the Pyrean, who seems to be rushing home to his sister in a rainy forest. We learn he deserted his post to return home, as the cleansing is well underway and unstoppable at this point. We search around the house for the spell we need and memorize the pattern. However, outside there's an ambush waiting for us. We fend them off as best we can, but the Pyrean notices one mage inside his house and is struck down while he begs for his life. After the memory of the Pyrean ends, we wake up in the Aged Man's manor once again after being caught red-handed by the steward. Only, he's not the steward.
I brought you here after you broke into my sanctum and made your little journey into the realm of the dead. Please, don't look at me like that. I knew what you were up to from the start. Sadly enough, I did.
You knew of our plan? I don't understand.
No, you don't. Because you don't dare to question. Peculiar situation, all of this, isn't it? Suddenly you, the fugitive urchin, become mankind's salvation. And suddenly, just like that, out of nowhere, you can perform feats others would require decades to master. Even better, you're one of the emissaries who can hear the echo of the future.
How do you know all about this? Who are you really?
Who am I? Back then, I might have given you an impressive response to that. But at this time, I couldn't say anything that would help you. Let's just say, I'm an observer. A fleshless eye, if you prefer. In this era, you might also know me as the Aged Man.
According to the legends, the Aged Man is centuries old. You don't look like that.
Yes. And I'm certain that irritates you. But timelessness isn't that much of a feat. You will find that out yourself, soon enough, too.
And what do you observe? The cycle?
Amongst other things, yes. The cycle. You have what you came for, and the rest is up to you. Even though I doubt it will make much of a difference.
What's that supposed to mean? That we can't stop the cycle? The cleansing?
Maybe you could do just that, but time will tell. Now, forgive me.
We meet Jespar in the field after the house has mysteriously vanished, only to find something surprising. Despite the Aged Man's indifference to us, he left us behind the Word of the Dead, an odd gesture of goodwill. We take this artifact back to the Order and speak with Tealor. He confirms again that Malphas, the patron god of Enderal, told the Order to steer clear of this guy, and that the Aged Man seems to be some kind of omnipotent observer. We also learned from our vision the Pyreans called the forces behind the cycle the High Ones. Those are the weird, demonic things we spoke to after our trial. We deliver the memorized spell to the Archmagister, and the sigil stone bursts into shards, allowing us to scoop up a piece to give immunity to the Red Madness. These pieces, however, are finite, but they will be delivered to the most important people in the Order to ensure they cannot be corrupted. However, now it's time to do the other side of this two-pronged mission. Tealor Aranthiel asks us to explore an old ruin. This place supposedly has a machine the Pyreans tried to assemble to stop the cycle. We're accompanied by Calia, the other initiate who survived the trial with us. Remember, she's the one Dunwar called a witch, and we'll find out why he said that pretty soon. To make a long story short, this massive ancient ruin houses the machine we're looking for somewhere, but bandits made their way inside before the keepers could get here and secured the site. After slaughtering a dozen or so bandits, I step on a trap and nearly die. Luckily, Calia is there to save me, but this happens.
Put down your weapon. I don't want to hurt you.
Oh, is that so?
All of your men are dead. And even if you manage to get past us, there are dozens of guards further up.
Such determination. All right, then. Die!
As you wish.
My mud elemental's blocking the view. A little further into the ruin, we finally find what we're looking for. There are various items scattered around the floor that we can interact with, and with our prophet vision ability, we get a glimpse back for some of the context for this machine. It's called a beacon and is powered by strong magical crystals. We don't know what it does, but it's obvious the Pyreans never got it working. We report back to Tealor, who wants the beacon pulled out of the ruin and brought back to Ark no matter the cost. Anyway, we need to get our ass in gear because the Naramese have just been spotted on our coast in warships. And they're not the friendly Naramese like the ones we have in the Order helping us. The spark notes of this conversation is that the Naramese are being led by a man named Korek. These are the same people who overthrew the Lightborn, and they're not happy that Enderal is in its own little bubble, that the people are unaware that their gods are dead. Now, although Enderal has a military, it's nothing compared to Naram. We would lose very quickly. For now, Korek wants to talk with Tealor Aranthiel and has docked some of his fleet on Half Moon Isle. Korek is aware of the cycle, and weirdly, he wants it to happen. Why? We'll find that out soon. Right now, Jespar, Firespark, and ourselves are tasked into sneaking onto the island to do some spying. How does one get onto an island undetected? Well, if your answer was an ancient subway system underneath a haunted fortress, you win a cookie. And unless you've played this game before, there is no way you guess that. After a little task or two, we make our way to the Living Temple. Firespark tells us the building earned its name due to this ancient practice the Pyreans used to do. They knew how to bind souls into inanimate objects, amulets, buildings, vases, whatever. This temple has a soul bound to it that essentially has gone insane. Why? Because it had to observe its entire race get wiped from the previous cleansing thousands and thousands of years ago. However, this temple has a subway station in its basement, and we need to venture inside. You kill some stuff, decipher ancient texts, and at the very end of the temple, Firespark gets separated from Jespar and us, and we hear him screaming in the next room. We walk in, and this happens.
She showed me! She showed me! She showed me all!
What are you talking about? Who showed you what?
The temple. She let me look through the window of time, and I saw it. All of it. The high ones, the light, the burnt flesh everywhere.
Burnt flesh?
Yes, because of the light. It burns us from within. I saw them, men, women and children. They were ablaze like the sun. So bright and oh, why did you show me? Why? No one should have to see something like that. No one. She's so sad. So sad and so full of wrath because we chose to close our eyes rather than see. Because we refuse to understand.
Understand what? You're not making any sense.
That it's us. We are sin. Don't you see? And there's only one way to end it.
Firespark was shown a glimpse into the past by the spirit who haunts this temple, not maliciously, but as a warning for what's about to come. The vision was enough to drive him insane, and he attacks us. Unfortunately, my guy is kind of kitted. I'm pretty strong, so we take him down fairly easily, and Jespar and I bury his body. In a little cove under the temple foundations, Jespar detects something weird and goes on in front of us. When he returns, he's in a panic. He wants us to tell him a memory only we would know, and when we ask why, he shows us. Our dead body lays rotting in this ruin, along with our friend Sirius. When we were thrown overboard at the start of the game, did we die? Or is this temple playing mind tricks on us? A mystery that will be solved at a later date. Finally, at the end of the ruin, we find the broken down subway system we were told about. This should take us to the little island so we can spy on Korek. We pop out at this very pretty location, and as far as I know, you can't come back here, so it's really worth your time to just explore it while you're here. We can't sneak into the fort because it's too well fortified, and Jespar and I split up. I come across some ruins and find a bear gnawing at a blood-stained corpse.
Look at that. The urchin child who just won't stop struggling. You amuse us, you know. How you refuse to give up. How you keep on fighting, even though deep down you know your struggle is futile. But still, you have come a long way. You have ignited the sigil stone, and you have found the beacon. And this, urchin child, this amuses us. So here's our offer, prophet. Ask us whatever is on your mind, and we swear to answer truthfully. or you can leave. It's up to you.
Okay, there's like 20 minutes of talking here, but while the High Ones are being honest with us, here are the most important things that they say. They are impressed we found the beacon and are building it. They didn't think we'd get that far. The Naramis are here to destroy the beacon, and the High Ones are like, yeah, we didn't ask them to do that, but they're kind of doing our work for us. Korek knows about the cycle, but he thinks the High Ones are his ally and the cleansing will actually evolve humanity to the next stage, whatever that means. Like, I guess we'll ascend to godhood, I guess? The High Ones don't know what Korek is yapping about either. They tell us he's not an emissary like us. They have never spoken to him, even though Korek lies and tells his people that they do. Finally, they tell us that Tealor Aranthiel also isn't an emissary, which is odd because we know he shared the same dreams as us and the High Ones were present. Before we can talk any further, we're hit over the back of the head and wake up to Korek and his gang. Using a special hologram device, Korek and Tealor go back and forth over basically what we just covered. Korek sees the High Ones and the cycle as a blessing. Tealor sees it as the end of all humanity. Tealor refuses to dismantle the beacon, and Naram and Enderal are now at war. Korek, surprisingly, is a man of honor and puts Jespar and my unconscious bodies on a raft and sends us back to Enderal. While we're sleeping, we have a nightmare, the same one from the start of the game, only this time, it's a little different. Uh-oh. It's Daddy, but he looks different this time.
Well, well, look who's here. How are you doing, silly? Still on the search?
Yes, Daddy, and I think I know where to find it.
Is that so? Honestly, I find that a little hard to believe. But I guess you know what you're doing, don't you? You always did. Come on, let's go inside. I've prepared a little surprise. Or should I say a big one? Ta-da-da-da! Look who I dug out. It's Mother and little sister. Aren't they beautiful?
Aren't we beautiful? Aren't we beautiful?
But I suppose what we dead people do doesn't concern you now, does it, my child? Because you are important now. Ha! Can you believe it? He's important now. He is chosen.
Chosen. Chosen.
But you know, I think you've forgotten something amidst all this ballyhoo of prophecies, cleansings, and beacons. That you are weak. You are pathetic. You are worthless. And you are weak. That's what you were back then. That's what you are now. And that's what you'll always be. Saving lives? You? Ridiculous! So, tell me, silly, why is it so hard for you to just let go? Your place is here, in the realm of the dead. So just let yourself fall. It only hurts in the beginning, you know? Then it's like falling asleep. Please, my child, we miss you so much. Little sister wants to play with you again.
Play with you. Play with you.
And two of us, we could go hunting again, like back in the old days. Find ourselves a nice deer, and then have a good, juicy piece of meat for dinner. But do you even listen to me? Hey, you're not supposed to leave yet. You're already here. So why don't you just stay? Please, child, stay with us. Stay with us. Stay with us. Stay with us.
Stay with me. Hey, can you hear me? Wake up.
We awake on a boat. Luckily, Jespar and I were picked up by a fisherwoman and brought to Duneville. Duneville is the second largest functioning city in the game. There are some great side quests to do here, but we'll come back a few times during the main story. Right now, we basically just beeline it back to Ark to fill in everyone on what just happened. While we were gone, the Order figured out we need 3 magical black stones to power the beacon, and when the beacon is powered, it'll just erase the High Ones from existence. That's the hope, anyway. So, there's a bunch of these black stones all over the world, and we get a list of some of them that are in Enderal. Before we head out questing for the stones, Lashari pulls us aside and tells us she uncovered something from our last meeting. The mercenaries that attacked the ruin for the sigil stone, they were sent by someone here in Enderal. As soon as we get to her room to talk more about this discovery, we walk in on her dead, stabbed through the stomach, and are spotted right away by this guy, Yusalan Sharim. He's been a background character up to this point and is one of the Naramis mages, just like Ashari, who came over to assist the fight against the cycle. We need to convince him it wasn't us, and he helps us look around for clues. All we find is traces of dust, which is like the drug in this game, and report her death to the Order. While they investigate this murder, we're tasked with the more important duty, finding the 3 black stones. This is where I'm going to take a step back from the main quest and talk about the main companion storylines, which coincidentally all climax here. 2 of the 3 black stones we need to power the beacon act as a finale for both Jespar and Calia. Kind of. This is more where their stories peak, but let's start with Calia's storyline since it's a bit more straightforward, because she doesn't have several books written about her, unlike a certain someone. All of this story is obtained through optional conversation with Calia, but because it detracted from the main narrative, I'm now grouping it into a separate chapter of the video. We first met Calia during our trial to become a keeper. She doesn't say much, but the other initiate, Dunwar, calls her a witch. After the trial, we wake up in the Sun Temple and she's standing over our bed. She tells us she doesn't remember anything before the age of 6, and her first memory is of her in the middle of a destroyed village. Men, women, children, corpses everywhere, but she describes the destruction as recent, within an hour or so of her regaining consciousness. Moments later, riders on horseback come charging into the town, and they take her from the ruins, assuming she was some kind of witch child. She remembers making her way to Ark and being recruited by a master of the Order, which is how she's here today. The next time we talk with Calia is right after her relapse, when we were out looking for the beacon, when she turned into that crazy shadow monster and attacked the bandit leader. I don't really want to trivialize this revelation, but she's basically the Hulk. She tells us she has this alter ego that comes out when she gets angry, and this shadow figure gets immense pleasure from hurting or killing things. She also has a vague memory of this shadow creature being the one that destroyed her hometown, explaining the horseback rider's hostility towards her. There's a few little conversations you can have here and there that give insight to her personality, but nothing super narrative focused. That is until the Black Stone mission we are now on, and this is where her story gets really interesting. One of the stones we're looking to track down was obtained by one of the apothecary in Ark several years back. After a bit of investigating, we don't find much, but Calia stops us before we give up and tells us that she might know where this special stone is. She tells us the tale of Dalgalar, a healer that was better and more renowned than any other. He would heal the poor, the needy, and the rich too, but would never charge those who couldn't afford it. As time progressed, this Dalgalar started experimenting with new forms of magic to heal diseases that had no cure. To do this, he began to experiment with banned magical schools and eventually was removed from the apothecary. Dalgalar's big project, the cure to all sickness, was something he called Angel. One of the artifacts used to create this angel was a smooth, dark stone, exactly what we're looking for. Calia, however, has other motives. She'll help us recover the stone, but she wants the angel for herself, to cure this shadow monster inside of her. We set out to the Frost Cliff Mountains and make our way to the giant-ass castle of Dalgalar. On the way in, we discover the corpses of the previous inhabitants of the keep, which almost triggers Calia into a full-on meltdown. Luckily, she keeps the monster under control, and we head inside. Inside the main hall, there's a locked door, barricaded with magical sigils for which we need passwords for. There are 2 towers on either side, each with a piece of the puzzle, but also more insight onto what happened inside this castle. In the first tower, our special prophet power shows us that Dalgalar started to become mad, obsessed with this girl. sick are coming to the gates every day to be healed, but he refused to see them, pouring all of his focus on this girl that's locked away in a room none of his other staff can enter. At the top of the tower, we find this strange crystal, along with several cadavers suspended in some kind of liquid. It appears Dalgalar was using this crystal to transfer life force into dead bodies, which doesn't explain much at the moment. Inside this room, we find a letter from his wife Tanisha, and appears this girl who we were hinted about is the daughter of him and his wife. Looks like this angel he is researching is not to help the sick and needy, but his ill daughter. In the next tower, we find this child's bedroom locked away. We get a vision of Dalgalar reading to his child, who seems completely unresponsive. Calia uncovers a ledger and tells us that Dalgalar was purchasing insane amounts of embalming ointment to keep cadavers fresh. His daughter wasn't sick, she was dead. We also learn her name, Maya, which is used in conjunction with the wife's name to open the final door to the last room. As we enter, a gate slams shut behind us, separating us from Calia. From the shadows, a group of mercenaries appear who have been following us the whole time. They paralyze Calia, and by their phrasing, I don't think they're planning anything nice. The door's shut, and we need to save Calia before something bad happens, and as I'm sure you can assume, she doesn't need our help at all, as we hear the screams of her victims through the stone walls. We find Calia unconscious and make sure she's safe before we venture deeper for the black stone. In a room covered in ice, we find it, and touching it shows us something absolutely shocking.
Here we go. How are you feeling, Starlet? Sorry for the hard stone, but there's no other way. Maya, can you hear me?
Daddy?
Maya, you! Oh, my little starlet, you!
I feel dizzy, Daddy. And where's Mommy?
She is at home. You have been very ill, you know that? Very, very ill. But now... Maya, what's wrong?
It burns. Daddy,
What?
Poor little creature. You don't have the slightest idea how special you are, do you? Calia.
The Veiled Woman, the person from the very start of the game, has played a role in all of this. We have the choice to either tell Calia or lie to her about her origins. I decide to be truthful, and as you can assume, she doesn't take it super well. Calia is the angel, which unfortunately means there is no way to cure herself. Moving on to the next other major companion, Jespar. What makes this part of the video the hardest to summarize? Well, that's because there's a big, fat book about his adventures 13 years before Enderal. In fact, now I believe there's 3 books. I haven't got my hands on the 2 new ones yet, but I did read the first one. The audiobook is also narrated by Jespar's voice actor. It's great. I'm not sponsored, by the way, but I will link Nicholas Liatsu's website down below. He's the lead writer for both this video game and the book series. Fair warning, we will be spoiling some minor details of the book, nothing related to the novel's plot, which is set on Calia if you're curious, just a reference or two about Jespar, and maybe a secret from his past. Let's start from the beginning. 13 years before the video game Enderal. Jespar is one of 4 children of the Delveric family, Sublime by birth, which is the top caste of society in Enderal. Pampered, privileged, highly educated, he could have gone on to do great things, but ended up a mercenary. Why? Well, the answer is a little complicated. Jespar lost nearly his entire family when he was very young. His father was a judge who refused to let a very powerful political figure go free for a crime he was caught red-handed for. Enraged, this powerful person sent out a band of mercenaries to the Delveric household and slaughtered everyone inside. Jespar's father, mother, and 2 older brothers. The only reason Jespar lived is because he and his sister were playing in a nearby cave, which we will eventually visit during his questline. This traumatic event left Jespar with severe mental health issues along with horrible nightmares. Usually these nightmares involve the corpse of his father and a swamp of some kind. In the novel, Jespar has 2 companions on his adventure, Lycia and Kawu, both of whom he meets for the first time in this book. He slowly becomes infatuated with Lycia, and they have this weird on and off relationship, both wanting different things out of it. Lycia Zara Veroy is a biomancer and a mercenary hired for the same job as Jespar. They develop strong feelings for each other, and at the end of the novel, spoilers, but they set out from Calia together on the same boat. This relationship is probably elaborated on in the newer novels, but I couldn't tell you. Now, let's jump into the game of Enderal and tie some details together. Jespar's backstory is slowly confirmed as we increase our reputation with him. There are a few major nuggets that stand out. First, Jespar and his sister survived the butcher of the Delverics. However, since they were both highly educated and came from an important family, it wasn't too hard for them to land on their feet. Jespar's sister, Adela, joined the apothecaries, and Jespar took the money he had and traveled, and lived every day like the last, as he likes to put it. Another nugget, Jespar had a companion, a pretty serious one, 13 years ago. Much later, Jespar opens up about this tragic night, telling us that he went to go get firewood, and when he returned, the bandits had surrounded the camp and his partner, Lycia. Instead of fighting and defending her, he simply ran as far as he could without ever looking back. He's incredibly depressed about this decision and regrets it dearly, and has no idea if Lycia ever made it out alive. For all he knows, she was killed. Anyway, getting back on track with the main story, Jespar's family, the Delverics, supposedly were in possession of one of these black stones that we need. When we go to find Jespar to inquire about this, the barkeep tells us to deliver this package to him that was dropped off by a mysterious woman. Like the upstanding friend we are, we snoop through his mail and find a map. This map leads to 3 gruesome murder scenes, each of which has a signed confession by the victim. All these people are guilty of some heinous crimes and are dealt with in a similar manner. In each letter, they thank this mysterious vigilante, the Bone Judge, for their penance. At the bottom, there's a cipher, but we have no idea what it means. After a few hours, we finally deliver Jespar's mail to him, and weirdly, he's able to make sense of the puzzle. There's only one person who could have left him this message, the only surviving member of his family, his sister. But his sister went off to become a healer, not a vigilante. We head over to the Powder Desert, a sandy region of the country, and make our way to the Delveric's estate. Both the book and Jespar have told us about the backstory of this manor, but clearly it's been abandoned. Behind the house, there's a secret cave where Jespar and his sister used to play as kids. We stay hidden as best we can, and Jespar enters the center of the chamber. Jespar's sister has been corrupted by the stone, same as Dalgalar. In front of her, she has the man responsible for the Delveric's massacre, that powerful person their father tried to convict. Jespar begs his sister to come with him, leave the stone so he can help her, and all we can do is watch as the events play out.
The Black Stone. Oh, damn. Then it's really true.
You know of the stone?
Yes, listen to me, Adela. Whatever you've done over the past months, you didn't do it of your own free will. The stone, it's evil, and it controls you.
What is this, Jespar? One of your brilliant jokes? We Delverics have had this stone for generations. Father, he lived this calling, but he failed to see what the stone really was. A gift of fate, a means for us to carry out our destiny, to bring justice to a world where there is none. But I saw, and I will use it.
No, you're seeing this wrong. The stone, it's cursed. It wants you to... Shit, damn it, I just don't know what to say.
Surprise, Jespar. You never did. Just look at what you've become, running around and working for the kind of people Father tried to bring down. Treasure hunter. You're a thug. You might as well just have spit on Father's grave.
Yeah, you'd know. All right. This is getting us nowhere. You obviously think you know what you're doing, but you don't. Which is why you'll now give me the stone. Before it'll make you do something you'd regret.
So, this is why you really came. You want the stone for yourself. What did they pay you, Jespar, huh?
What? No!
Go!
Adila,
Go!
As you wish. I'm sorry.
Our friend has been killed, but as we leave, we find the veiled woman once again, this time not in a vision like she was during Calia's quest, but right here in front of us. The veiled lady tells us as a token of goodwill, she will bring Jespar back from the dead to prove she isn't our enemy. She does just that, and we have to explain to Jespar what happened with his sister. He wants to be alone, which then leads to that quest I spoke about previously of him unraveling about his relationship with his sister and Lycia. The final Black Stone is obtained through, I would say, one of the saddest quests I've ever done in an RPG. I swear to God, the first time I played this several years ago, I almost cried. I hate it, but it's really well done. The last stone is in possession of the Delgaiuses, an incredibly wealthy and influential family in Ark. When we go and inquire to the Patriarch, he tells us he knows nothing about the stone we're looking for and kicks us out of his house. With a little sneaking around, we break into his attic and find a child's room filled with toys but has been long since abandoned. We uncover a birth certificate of this missing child and confront Delgaius once again. He spills the beans this time, telling us how he and his wife had a miracle baby, but when he was born, it was disgusting, malformed, and putrid. Without the consent of the mother, this upstanding gentleman here took his son to the far east of Enderal, to a little village called Silver Grove, and dumped the baby there. He suspects his wife, out of desperation, grabbed some gems from the treasury to stuff in the baby's basket, hopefully to compensate whoever would take in their child. One of these gems was the Black Stone we're looking for. The way this father speaks of his son is gross. He refers to him as an it, and how throwing an innocent child out into the desert was necessary to preserve the family name. Well, with this lead, we head out into the desert to find this village of Silver Grove. Suddenly, during our travels, we get this weird headache and the path closes behind us. A little further down the road, we stumble across Silver Grove's guards, who let us in for the night. He tells us a little boy, Rhalâta, found a silver vein in a mine nearby, and for several years the village has prospered. This same boy was delivered by a stranger with a terrible disease, but he's doing much better now. Sounds like we found our missing kid. And this guard wasn't kidding. This entire town feels like a utopia filled with vegetation, friendly and happy people, and a thriving community. As we make our way into Rhalâta's house, we stumble across a familiar face.
What? Who are you? Can I help you?
What the father?
I beg your pardon?
Nothing, it's just you look like someone I knew.
Okay, that's interesting. But well, what is life but a sequence of weird coincidences? How can I help you? I don't think I've seen you around here before.
This is the first clue that something isn't right. Our father from the nightmare is here, only this time he doesn't know us and seems rather friendly. He welcomes us into his home and leads us to his son, who looks like a perfectly healthy boy. We ask Rhalâta about the Black Stone, which he has a vague memory of, but before he leads us to it, he wants to play some games with us. There are several things to do with Rhalâta and some additional side content to complete in this little village if you wish, but it gives us some time to chat with the boy and find out how sweet and caring he is.
I had these bumps all over my face, and they itched all day long, and whenever I wanted to walk, I had to walk funny because my right leg was always swollen. But it just went away when I got older, and now I can run faster than even Gages. And he's quick, let me tell you.
After playing his games, he leads us to a temple ruins. Inside, one last surprise for us, a picture he painted of us and him holding hands on a beach. It's also here we uncover Rhalâta's secret.
So, ta-da! That's the surprise I promised you. Do you see it? That's us, on the beach here in Silvergrove, right where we tested the sphere. Do you like it? It's really nice, isn't it?
Can I tell you my last wish now? After that, I will give you the stone, just like we agreed. I promise.
I want you to stay here.
What?
I want you to stay and be part of the family. I'm sure Daddy would let you move in if I asked him. Then we could play together every day. And every night we'd have supper with Daddy like we were siblings.
Rhalâta, I can't stay here. Even if I wanted to, I already told you there's something I have to do on the outside.
But why not? Why? What is there in that stupid city that you need to get back to? The world out there, it's so cruel. So cold.
Rhalâta,
Or is it me? It's me, isn't it? I've been a bad little brother to you, and all my games were stupid and boring. But I will change all that, I promise. I just don't want you to leave. Without you, I'll be alone again. And I don't want to be alone anymore.
Alone? What are you talking about? You won't be alone, even when I leave.
Yes, I will be. There's something I need to tell you, but I'm afraid that you will hate me when I do. Just like all the others.
I never wanted them to be trapped here. You have to believe me, but it was the only way to make them love me. Back then, they were always mean to me, even though I never did anything wrong. Every time Daddy took me out on the streets, they called me freak, demon, and things like that. Don't you see? Everybody hated me. They all did. And it was all just because I had those bumps on my face, and my left leg was like a big clump. Only Daddy loved me, and he took care of me.
But I don't get it. You were cured.
No, I never was. All this here, it started when the old woman died.
The old woman?
Yes. One day she just fell down and died. As she walked past our house, her heart stopped beating. That's what Daddy said. But all the others said it was me. That I killed the woman with wild magic. Because I'm a pathless demon. A freak. But that's a lie. I never wanted to hurt anyone. Ever. They only said that because they hated me from the start. They came 2 days after that happened. It was already dark, and Daddy and I were asleep when all of a sudden they came into my room and tried to pull me out of my bed. I screamed and I cried, and then Daddy came and started screaming too and punched one of the men in the face. And then one of the women pulled a knife from her coat and she...
They killed your father?
Yes. I don't think she wanted to, but she just stabbed him in his belly again and again. And suddenly there was blood everywhere, on the floor, on my drawings, on the bedsheets, even on Thoris's basket. Then they looked at each other in a weird way and just ran. Do you understand? They just ran and left me and Daddy there. I was so afraid, brother. I was so afraid. And then the stone started speaking to me.
The stone? So you had it with you?
Yes. Do you see the necklace? The stone is in there.
Daddy said I already had it when they found me. I'm sorry I didn't tell you earlier, but I was afraid that when you found out where it was, you would just take it and leave.
Rhalâta tells us with tears in his eyes that the Black Stone made all his wishes come true. A happy life where he was normal and everyone was friendly. The stone also told him everyone in this town would die if he banished the illusion, and that he may die too. If your relationship is high enough with Rhalâta and you are polite to him, you can convince him to drop the illusion. Unfortunately, this story doesn't have a happy ending at all.
But what if the stone is right, and we really do die if I make this world go away? Not just the others, but us too. I'm so scared. I don't want you to die.
We'll make it, I promise.
Yes, maybe you're right. Okay, then give me... Wait, what is this? I feel so weird. Oh no, the stone, it's in my head. Help me, brother, help me, it hurts so much.
Oh, damn. This is what Silver Grove looks like? Without Rhalâta's spell? Oh no. There's his dead dad.
You were right, brother. We made it.
Yes, we did. Can you walk? We should leave this place.
No, I don't think so. The bumps, they hurt so bad, you know?
I'll go look for a horse. Stay here for now.
Yes, thank you.
Rhalâta, we can go now.
Daddy, is that you? I'm so sorry about the vase. That was Thoris, and I...
Rhalâta, it's me.
Yes, I saw one of them this morning. You were right. You know, sometimes all you need to do for a wish to come true is to hold on to it long enough. Can you start us a fire now, Daddy? I'm cold. So cold.
God, I wish Enderal had Skyrim's child adoption mechanic. What I wouldn't give to nurse this little kid back to health. I'd spend every penny I had on this little dude. Regardless, this quest is a different caliber compared to most of the others. Apparently, it's because the writer, Nicholas, wrote it as a short story essay in university and was able to transition it into Enderal. Explains why the emotions kind of hit you out of left field unexpectedly. Anyway, we give the poor kid a funeral and return the Black Stone to the beacon. As soon as we slot it in, the Archmagister feels his connection to the magic universe dissipate. Something has nullified most types of magic around Ark. We rush to find Tialor, only mid-conversation to get a front row seat to the siege of Ark by the Neremese army. As we approach the front lines with Tialor Aranthiel and cut down the invaders on the way, we find the gate is jammed and must repair it. After fixing the gate mechanisms, we run out to find a magical barrier has been erected and our soldiers on the outside are slaughtered by Korek's right-hand man. Korek himself approaches the gate and offers one last time for Aranthiel to surrender and disassemble the beacon. Of course, he says no, and Korek vows to kill every Enderalian in the country, innocent or not, simply because he believes the High Ones won't allow religious people to ascend through the cleansing. Again, remember, this Korek guy thinks the cleansing is a good thing. We're on a timer, and we need to get the beacon up and running as fast as possible. There's just one tiny problem. Apparently, we need something called the Numinos, which allows the beacon to focus its power. However, the next time we sleep, we're back in our nightmare. This time, we listen to our father beat the shit out of our mom. From the argument, it seems he's convinced his wife is carrying another man's child, although she denies it. When we wake up, we report to the Archmagister, who tells us everyone across the country is reporting more nightmares like what we just had, and that the red madness is getting powerful, like super powerful. He tells us while we were sleeping, some starling broke into the temple looking for shadow steel. When they interrogated him, it turns out he's constructing a starship to take him to the starling's ancestral home, a floating city untouched by the cleansing with loads of valuable information we can use. Instead of arresting him, the Order teams up with this starling thief, Kermai Kazar. I'm not saying that. We help him collect a few items, and before you know it, we're off. While we're on this starship, we have the chance to speak to our friends and get an interesting look at the engine of the ship, which is this weird orb that draws its energy from magical water. It's pretty cool. After a few days, we finally pull into Star City, but we notice something strange. Everyone is missing. This is supposed to be the heart of starling civilization, and it's completely dead. Kermai rushes off to the city, and we chase after him. We find him yelling up at the gate, trying to get in, and realizing there's no one there to answer his call. Luckily, we find a side entrance and enter the ruins. Eventually, Jespar, myself, and Magistra Yela make it to the Tower of Memories, which is kind of like a starling library. As we descend down the elevator shaft, we uncover exactly what we're looking for.
The starling prophecies were right. The ancient fathers have lived in this place for eras, maybe eons. And throughout the years, they have documented the rise and fall of every civilization. And we're just about to see their memories of the Pyreans. Now, would you look at that? Welcome to the memories of the ancient fathers. Let's see what we can learn from it. If the Grand Master was right about this, the Pyrean history should perfectly reflect the different phases of the cycle, including the cleansing. The chaos, the war, the red madness. This is the 5th step where we are right now. Do you see this shape in the background? This must be the High Ones who are behind all of it. The cycle nears its end. The 6th step. The cycle concludes, the cleansing happens, and mankind vanishes just like that. Do you see this temple in the background? This must be the temple in the city of 1,000 floods, the heart of the Pyrean realm. Mankind, it ascends to the sky, to the High Ones. Oh, by the righteous path, now it finally makes sense. All of it. Mankind doesn't vanish at the end of a cycle. It becomes a High One.
What?
That is how they reproduce, how they feed, or whatever you wish to call it. Don't you see? These shapes that ascend skywards. They're thoughts, our consciousness, our souls, and all of them together form a new High One.
So you're saying what a High One really is the consciousness of an entire civilization?
Yes, it's our memories, our thoughts, our dark knowledge, our collective consciousness. It's hard to explain. The problem with the High Ones is that they don't have a physical shape, and this makes it hard to fight them. They are everywhere and nowhere, just like the air. This is why we need the beacon to fight it. It has the power to banish them.
Well, that's peachy. Now all we have to do is find a High One who allows us to use the Word of the Dead on him. Should be an easy task, considering that they've already been so cooperative.
That is correct, but I know where to find one.
And where's that?
Where the last cleansing took place. That is where we need to go. And once we are there, you need to listen to the echo.
Of course, you can see what happened back then.
Correct. The echo grants you the ability to feel and relive the memories of this world. This means that we have to find the holy city of the Pyreans, where the last cleansing took place, the city of floods.
As we ascend the elevator once more, we're greeted by our friend Kermai, who has scurried off on his own. He thinks the reason his ancestors are not in the city is because they're hiding. From us, the filthy humans. So, like a rational person, he activates the Star City's defense mechanism, a flying, mechanical dragon which kills poor Kermai basically instantly. We're on the run, and our objective before we can leave is to look for a map which will lead us to the ancient Pyrean capital, the City of 1,000 Floods. This is where the last cleansing took place, and where we will find a raw soul of a High One. After grabbing the map in this crazy-looking chamber, Jespar, Calia, and us each take one of these mechanical escape pods and crash down to the surface. Jespar is fine, but Calia is injured, which means she won't be present during the final mission of this main story. As we enter the final act of Enderal, it's worth it to note that you do this last mission with whomever you have higher reputation with, so your ending could look a little bit different than mine. We have reached the point of no return, however. There are 3 different endings to this game, but because I did the secret ending, I'm locked out of the other 2. What do you need for the secret ending? Good question. There's a few things you need to prepare before you hit this point of no return. First, you need to complete the side quest Secrets. This is picked up way back in the starting zone and leads the player to explore Yarrow's secret laboratory to find the Dreamflower elixir recipe. Then, you need to have completed the Rhalâta faction questline, which I have already done and will cover later in this video, but once you do that, you get access to this special alchemy station. Then, you need to do a side quest with Yusalon, where you activate this crazy machine and go to an alternate reality where he can see his family one last time before the end of the world. It's pretty sweet. However, during your time on this island, you can find these rare flowers, dream flowers to be exact. Scoop up a few, refuse to give them back to Yusalon when he asks, brew the potion, and drink it. The bonuses are actually pretty great for my character build, but this will automatically unlock the secret ending once you get to the end. Okay, now we're ready to start the finale. Yusalon has discovered the map we recovered from the Star City and found that the Pyrean capital is right here. Like, literally, right here, under Ark. Is it a coincidence that we founded our civilization's capital in the exact same spot? I don't know, but us, Jespar, Yusalon, and Tielor Aranthiel make our preparations to head down to this forgotten city. We need to grab the Word of the Dead, and when we head to the beacon, something odd happens. The members of the Order start to go insane and attack us. Despite all having sigil shards on, they are no longer protected from the Red Madness. After the skirmish, we discover the Naramis have stormed our gates and begun burning the citizens of Ark. This is impossible unless there was a traitor in our midst. Turns out the Truchessa, the second highest official and Tielor's friend, betrayed the city of Ark to the Naramis. She negotiated a peace with Korek, but he slaughtered her and stabbed her in the back the first chance he could. Tielor Aranthiel gives a speech to all of us at the Sun Temple, and we descend into the depths of the Undercity to find our entrance to the lost city of the Pyreans. This whole trip is very interesting. We get to see a district of the Undercity we never saw before, and eventually come across the City of 1,000 Floods. This place is gorgeous. I can't believe they put so much effort into making a location you visit for like 20 minutes max. Anyway, as we approach the temple steps, the High Ones speak to us once again.
Of course. Impressive.
I suppose we have company.
You are impressive, you know that? Everything around you is falling apart, yet you refuse to give up. Tell us, Aranthiel, what makes you keep going?
Are you trying to manipulate me? If so, save your breath and fight instead.
Oh my, so grim. How nice it would be if everything could just be killed, wouldn't it? Even the past. Tell us, do your companions know the truth about you? All of it?
Let's go. This is pointless.
Pointless? You wound us. All we want is to help them understand. Just look at them. How clueless they are.
We learn Tielor had a relationship with a Lightborn, a god, and they had a child. However, it would have been blasphemy, and the Lightborn asked Tialor to take the baby and start a new life. Tialor refused, as he was up for a promotion in the guard, and said he would give the baby up for adoption, which hurt his partner's feelings deeply. This is undoubtedly the origin story of Narathul Aranthiel, the main character from the Oblivion Overhaul, who would later fell the Lightborn, including his own mother. This is a shocking revelation and clearly has put Tialor in some kind of shock. But before we can process this information, the High Ones summon some souls for us to fight as we make our way up to the temple. Before we enter, they resurrect a dragon which collapses the temple around us. When we finally regain consciousness, Jespar has been separated from us, and it's just Tialor and Yuslan. As we head deeper into the Pyrean temple, we see more visions of the past. However, they're so strong here that Tialor and Yuslan can see them too, despite them not having the same gift as us. Finally, at the end of the hallway, we see it, a beacon. We need to induce a memory from the previous cleansing so we can lock onto the soul of the High One and find various items around the beacon to do just that. Suspiciously, every echo we see has exactly happened for us. Verbatim, we are following in the exact footsteps of the Pyreans, and we know how it turned out for them. After finding the last fragment, this happens.
By the name of the sun. Is that...
A High One. We have made it. How are you feeling, Prophet? Luring the echo like that, it must have strained you. What is it? What are you waiting for?
Tell me, Aranthiel. Back in the ruins, when the High One showed you that memory, it was the first time I saw you express real agitation. Not anger, but agitation. What you did to your son, do you regret it, I wonder? That you abandoned him in exchange for prestige and power.
What?
I don't think you do. What got to you was being reminded of your own failure. Regret. You don't know that feeling. You never have. Not even after Kira.
Sharon, what are you?
I hired the mercenaries with Khalim. I helped him kill Lashari. And I let the Neramis into the city. And still, you don't have the slightest idea who I am, do you?
Why, you were there. The night of 1,000 fires.
Yes, I survived your massacre, one of only a few.
But then I realized that all of this would be so much more gratifying than anything else I could do to you. Your final attempt, and so close to your target, only to fail by my hand.
Yuslan has betrayed us. Tialor killed his wife and daughter many years ago during a mission for the Holy Order, and he's been waiting to stab him in the back. Yuslan then merges with the soul of a High One who then taunts Tialor as we return back to Enderal. However, this conversation ignites a theory within Tialor, that if he ignites the beacon and destroys all of humanity, the High Ones will have nothing to feast upon. Unfortunately, we are on the brink of death, and Tialor says we would just slow him down, and he leaves us to bleed out on the stone floor of the temple. Just as all hope seems lost, we hear a familiar whisper.
It all begins with the dreams. Breathe.
Did she save us? What the hell?
Enter the mind of a High One? I hope you're joking. This was their last stand. They are afraid of us. I feel it. You've killed us! You've killed us all! You have just shown me the solution.
That's exactly what Aranthiel said. The Veiled Woman has brought us back to life once again and transported us to this strange, icy cavern. In the central chamber, we find this colossal statue. This is the Black Guardian, a being that has been alive since the very first cleansing tens of thousands of years ago. He thought that he could trick the High Ones by melding himself with this machine to avoid being cleansed. However, he wasn't able to finish it in time and has laid dormant, trapped inside of it for generations. This conversation is over 45 minutes long. I'm not kidding. You can go to my second channel and watch the full finale Let's Play if you want. It's really long, but it's good. However, most of the important points are explained fairly well in this cutscene.
I myself do not know everything about the High Ones. Only that they are part of something we call the cycle. A civilization arises and blossoms, and then, always at the same stage of their development, the High Ones appear, and with them, the Red Madness. People start losing their minds, wars erupt, and chaos rules. Until 2 or 3 years later, the cleansing happens. The moment when the High Ones devour the collective consciousness, the gathered minds of this civilization, to give birth to a new one of their own. Despite all of this, nobody knows what drives them. Perhaps they act out of malice, out of an urge to survive, or perhaps they do not even have a will of their own, but are like a force of nature. But I do know one thing, as powerful as they might be, it is mankind who gives them that power. We make them into what they are, because what nobody understands is simply this. The High Ones feed on what humanity has the most of, their ego, greed, pride, fear, and their everlasting search for an enemy who was responsible for all their misery. It is those traits the High Ones make use of. These characteristics are what make us human, and by themselves, they are harmless. Only when we bury them, when we deny them, then they play into the High One's hands. So why is this, you ask? It is simple. The High Ones alone cannot make the cleansing happen. Only a human can. With the beacon, my knowledge about it is as limited as my knowledge about the cycle. It has existed since the beginning of time, and despite what you might now believe, the ancient writings about it are true. Lit by the ones who carry the Numenos, it can banish the High Ones once and for all. But it can also destroy us. Because what happens when it is lit without a core is far more than an explosion. It is the cleansing, the triumph of the High Ones. And even as we speak, a human, Tealor Orinthiol, has done it again. A bright light will appear from the heart of the machine and open a hole in the sky. And within hours, it will spread throughout the world, and they will all feel it. A fire that burns them from within. A white light which will break through their flesh. Do you understand now? The High Ones have no power. All they do is to feed on our weaknesses, manipulate us into bringing about our own destruction. It is we who forge the sword that kills us, we who lead them to their victory, even though the key to salvation has always been in our hands. But instead of realizing our folly, we make the same mistake. We repeat the same fate over and over, and only because we refuse to see the truth. Yes, the High Ones are our enemy, but who wants to hear that it is our ego, that dark voice within us, that empowers them? It is so ironic. The moment we would realize all this would be the moment when it all came to an end. But we do not.
God, this game is so fucking good, dude. Oh my fucking God, I love this game. Humanity, we are responsible for the cleansing. If we did nothing, the cleansing would never happen. Victims of our own ego, greed, and fear. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy that has happened for millennia, and Teal'c is about to ensure it happens again. The Black Guardian proposes 2 options for the player. Leave, bring new people to the Star City, and let the cleansing pass beneath us. We know the city is protected from the cycle, and we could restart civilization as gods, guiding the new age to not fall for the cycle when it comes time again. Or we could destroy the beacon, destroying Enderal in a massive explosion, but giving the rest of the world a few years to formulate a solution. We're also told we are the only person who can enact these plans because we're effectively immortal. The prophet, us, we are an emissary of the High Ones, and that body we saw in the living temple, that wasn't an illusion. We are really dead. Us, right now, we're the illusion created by the High Ones to influence the events of society and eventually the cycle. So the question is, do we use our immortality to become gods, just like the Lightborn, and guide a new civilization? Or do we use our power to destroy the beacon and give humanity one last chance? These are 2 of the 3 endings, and the player must make a choice. But before you can do that, the Black Guardian asks for a favor, to destroy him. He's been trapped inside this machine for far too long and wishes for death. If you oblige him, this happens.
Forgive me. The 2 of us will now exchange places. I am sorry for the deception, and if there were another way, I would not do this.
Luckily, your companion, whoever it is, saves you from this trap, and you battle your way through the Black Guardian's defenses until you eventually defeat him. As we escape with Jespar, we fill him in on the events of what just happened. In our conversation, his body pulses, beginning to burn from the inside. The cleansing has begun. We ask him to flee, take a Myrad, and fly somewhere to spread the news, and that we're going to give humanity one last chance. As I enter the Sun Temple, alone, I'm greeted with a horrifying sight. The souls of all these people have been separated from their bodies, which are burning from the inside out. I approach the beacon and destroy it. One last time, we awake in the nightmare. This time, however, it's different. It's dark, rainy, and the burning corpses crucified are no longer there. As I approach the house, something is indeed different. Oh God. Jesus Christ. What the hell is happening? I awake in a bed, a nice bed, in a beautiful room. Jespar is here, and he tells us we've been asleep for 2 weeks. We destroyed the beacon, we stopped the cleansing, and we gave humanity another chance. It may be a few years or a handful of months, but it's something. Jespar tells us about the aftermath of the explosion, that he flew back to find our bodies somehow intact and brought us to Kira. He's waiting for an audience with the Queen here to fill her in on the events of Enderal, but has heard the rumors of a new cult worshipping strange, otherworldly deities. The High Ones are back, but just like us, they need to start from scratch all over again. But for now, we're safe. And even if this is a dream, I don't ever want to wake up. This marks the end of the main campaign for Enderal, and one of the 3 endings available. We know the Dreamflower Potion is known to kinda put the user into a sleeping state, where they succeed at everything they do, so it's possible this whole ending wasn't real, and we died the moment we drank the potion, but most players considered this the true ending. Enderal's main story takes roughly 40 hours to play through, but my god, is this shit peak or what? This is one of the first times I've felt bad making a summary. The amount of details I had to skip just to make time is unreal. Please, please, play this game and give it a shot yourself. There's so much I didn't cover that you'll be able to experience for your very first time. So before we jump into the other major story content, I want to give you my quick review for the base game story content. And yes, I said base game. What I'm going to cover next is the DLC content added in the Forgotten Stories expansion. Enderal, to me, can be summarized in a simple statement. Skyrim, but it's actually well written. There is a story here that you want to experience. There's an interesting narrative that makes you want to dig deeper, and to me, that's exactly what a role-playing game should be. I assume most people watching this video have played Skyrim several times. How often do you boot it up just to experience the main story? Besides your first time, I would say rarely never. I've done it who knows how many times for my stupid challenges on this YouTube channel, and it's quite bland. By far, the worst story in any Elder Scrolls game. I'll take Redguard and Daggerfall's main quest over it. It's bad. Most people play Skyrim because it's a great sandbox and has high replayability. To me, Enderal is the best of both worlds. Fantastic sandbox, way more build variety compared to Skyrim, and a main quest that makes it hard to quit. It's a masterclass in well-structured narratives and storylines, something I think every Elder Scrolls fan, strike that, every RPG fan needs to try at least once. As far as my criticisms go, and keeping in mind this is a fan-made project, I don't have many. Exposition is high, far higher than Skyrim, but not as much as The Witcher 3. I would say it's pretty close to Morrowind if you actually read through all of the text in that game's main story. However, for the zoomer, brain-rotted fans like myself, there's a neat system to instantly progress the dialogue. Anytime you see those double arrows, you can just cut to the chase. You could literally chop out 70% or more of the yapping if you wanted to. I wouldn't recommend it. If I'm able to tolerate it with my zoomer brain, you should too, but the option is there if you wish. There's a lot of content to do in this game. I personally would have loved if the points of interest on the map said cleared, like they do in Skyrim if you've done them. It's really hard to keep track of all the content you've completed. I was basically veering away from locations to not discover them so I could easily figure out later if I'd completed the content or not. Finally, I would say the romance lockout is really weird. This dialogue option right here determines who you are going to romance, Jespar or Calia. It's really not well telegraphed. What if you just don't want to hurt Jespar's feelings? Or if you want to keep that information private? How does that translate into ending the relationship with the other person? I don't know. I had to cheat in a quest set stage command to bypass this interaction. Wasn't a huge fan of that. Still though, very minor criticisms, and overall, this is probably the best Skyrim mod you can play. I mean, it won a Game Award from the Game Awards. No other mod has ever done that before. It's free, it's as easy to play as any Steam game. There's no reason not to try it. Let's take a moment to talk about the guild questlines in Enderal, of which there are 2. Yes, less than most Elder Scrolls games, but in my opinion, the first one we're going to cover is better than any faction Bethesda has ever made. I was almost debating not doing this segment because the twists are so damn good. Watching me cover it instead of playing it for yourself should be a crime, so you've been warned. Major spoilers ahead. The first guild we're going to cover is the Rhalâta, added in the Forgotten Stories DLC for Enderal. Now, I have the full faction showcase on my second channel if you want to see the entire questline in detail, but here I'm just going to be doing a summary. This is the larger and more elaborate guild of the 2, taking around 7 hours to complete. Our journey begins in the Arena of the Undercity, where we can enlist ourselves into several fights to gain money, loot, and reputation with the people down here. These fights are designed to be very tricky, trying to make sure that you're up for the challenge you're going to face later in the questline. As far as I know, the final fight for this guild is the hardest in the entire game. After participating in several fights, you notice the arena master being threatened by a man in purple armor. If you have enough rhetorics, you can inquire more about this. She explains that the man was looking for a shadow tribute, which her father refuses to pay. This is a tax, so to speak, charged by the Undercity criminal organization, the Rhalâta. You pay for protection, but you're basically paying to be protected from them because they control everything. When you first enter the Undercity, at the very start of the game, you get mugged. With a rhetorics check, you find out they're only doing this to get enough money to pay their shadow tribute. If they don't, the Rhalâta will kill them or set their house on fire. For now though, we need to fight our way up in the arena until we come across this big boy. Right before the fight starts, the man we saw threatening the arena master upstairs jumps in and kills the beast. Not to save us, but to see how tough we are ourselves. After beating him, he teleports us out and tells us his story. This is Therial, and he's been watching us for some time in the arena and wishes to recruit us. However, he doesn't want us to join the Rhalâta, rather, quite the opposite. He wants us to kill the father, the leader of the Rhalâta. We learn this father figure abducted children from orphanages, including our new friend Therial. Why? Well, I'll let him explain. Why would the father abduct children?
That's the big question, isn't it? At first I thought it was about child trafficking. You know, tender little knaves and girls for rich bastards. Ark's bigwigs. Yet now I've come to the conclusion that it must have been about science. Experiments.
God damn, you mean the Rhalâta conducted experiments on you?
Only the father. As I said, I'm pretty sure you have the wrong idea about them. The Rhalâta doesn't see itself as a guild of murderers, but as a faith, a sect, a cult, in other words. The blackmailing, the shadow tax, is how they finance their little community.
Huh. And what do they believe in?
That the physical body is the worst thing that ever happened to man. It's a whole that needs to transcend. But we digress. If we're to work together, you'll soon have some rogue cultists telling you all this shit anyway.
After waking up, discarded from one of the father's experiments, Therial ran to the Order and told the temple, but they did nothing. The Undercity is below them. He decided to take matters into his own hands. Once he was old enough, he joined the Rhalâta, climbed the ranks, and now hopes to slay the father. To do that though, he needs our help. There's an expedition taking place soon in a long-lost temple. The Rhalâta have a religious belief that one day they will transcend, where they leave their mortal body and continue as an immortal being. The method to transcend is located in that long-lost temple, however, it'll be dangerous. The father will hire many mercenaries to help clear it out, and Therial wants us to become one of them. To do that, we need to find the lost pages of the Butcher of Ark. This is a fantastic novel, and I'll be summarizing it in my follow-up video a week or so after this one. The spark notes are that the Butcher was part of a guild called the Black Libra. Therial tells us this group massacred a village in the Farmer's Coast in an event called the Night of the Blind Daughters. This event is pretty graphic. I'm not going to get into the details because I don't want this video demonetized, but the daughters of this village between ages 12 and 16 were taken and carried away. They were found later, one body each mile of the main road, with their eyes sewn shut, among other things I can't say. The man who orchestrated this horrific event is named Calia, and he left the Black Libra shortly after and is now living impoverished in the Undercity of Ark. The father believes these missing pages were ripped out by Calia, and these pages also contain the secret to transcendence and how to navigate that strange temple the Rhalâta have been excavating. After a bit of searching, we find Calia, only he refuses the name and says he's Nylok. Interesting to note that that's the name spelt backwards. He says Calia was overcome with essentially so much guilt after the Night of the Blind Daughters that he shed his skin, so to speak, and became Nylok, who will then suffer for the rest of his life to atone for what Calia did. It's a flimsy story, but the best evidence he's telling the truth is that the Libra didn't hunt him down. They always kill anyone who tries to desert the guild, so maybe Nylok is indeed a different person. Anyway, with a bit of threatening, he leads us to the pages which he buried with his old skin, and we quickly discover he was not speaking figuratively. We now have to decide what to do with Nylok. He reveals to Theriel that he was an employee at the orphanage, and Theriel remembers him, but also remembers that he was there the night he was abducted as a child and stood by and did nothing. You can either tell Theriel to kill Nylok or ask him to spare him. This choice ripples through the story and locks you out of one of the 3 endings at the end of this questline. After you have chosen what to do with Nylok, it's time to turn the lost pages into the Rhalâta. We make our way to their secret hideout and meet with Brother Sorrow. The Rhalâta are named after their biggest vices of their previous lives before they joined the guild. Theriel's name, for example, is Brother Wrath. Their hideout is one of my favorite areas in the game. I just love how it looks. A little further down into this miniature city, we find the first seer who we hand the pages into. This guy is basically one of the most important people down here and reports only to the father. Theriel slyly suggests that we may make a good fit for the expedition being planned to ideally kill the father at the very end, and the seer passes along the recommendation as long as we do something for him first. He wants us to take out a deserter of the Rhalâta, Sister Pride, and cut out her heart. Finding her is pretty easy, but throughout this dungeon she has several notes which can be found, all describing her descent into madness. When we eventually find her, she's soaked in blood with a blindfold around her eyes. She explains to us that she ran away because she kept seeing faces melt as if they were wax. She had this feeling that she wasn't herself, like she was living inside a puppet of some kind. She didn't tell anyone because she didn't want the father to leave her behind on the day of transcendence, but it just got worse and worse. Eventually, she cut out her eyes, as we see here, and asks us to end her, putting her out of her misery. Again, you have a choice here. Get her a real heart or turn in a fake one. Theriel now wants us to accompany him to his childhood orphanage to find the ledgers left behind by the previous matron. He wants to know if he and his friends were sold willingly or by force. Unfortunately, this orphanage shares a basement with a crypt, so there's lost ones everywhere and we need to fight our way through. We can't find anything in the main office, but after some sneaking around, we find some hidden stashes in a secret ledger hidden away. However, when we return to Theriel, something strange has happened.
Snip, snip, snip. Cut through the throat. The head rolls off. The soul's afloat.
Theriel? You okay?
Theriel? Yes, Theriel. Back then he still existed. Now he's gone. Now there's only Brother Wrath. He killed them all, you know. Lethal, Wilma, all of them gone or dead. We couldn't enter the cold flesh. We screamed. We screamed as loud as we could, because it hurt so bad. But then, that would have made him angry, because then he couldn't concentrate anymore. But what else should we have done? It just hurt so bad. No matter how much of the blue juice he gave us, it always hurt so bad.
You're talking about the father, aren't you?
Father. Yes, our father. We never saw his face, you know. She always wore this mask, this terrible, scary mask.
Interesting that they refer to the father as, or he does, as a she. Do you remember what he did to you?
Yes, he wanted to make us happy. That's what she always said, that she wanted to make us happy. At first I believed him, but then they took Letho. They just came in and took him into the room. I heard him scream. Hours and hours, and then suddenly silence. Silence for eternity. But I shouldn't talk so much. Too much talking makes the father angry. Just let me sleep, will you? Just sleep.
After Theriel wakes up, we try and convince him about this seizure he had, and he doesn't believe us until we mention a childhood friend's name he said in his trance. He sits down with us and reluctantly tells us his whole life story. The highlights here are that when he was a child, he had a terrible cough. His parents, already struggling with money, abandoned him. He found his way to Ark's Undercity and was on death's door until another boy, Letho, took him in and shared what little he had. Eventually, Theriel and Letho made it into the orphanage after months of waiting. They spent 5 years there, best friends, until one night the Rhalâta came. They struggled and screamed, but it was no use. They were carried away to the father's laboratory, and, well, we know what happened next. The next time you go to sleep, you awake in this weird dream. As you walk through this creepy laboratory, the father stands at the end and tells you to speak to the first seer. When you do, he understands this as a coded message and sends me to meet the father in person. He tells us we are invited on the expedition and will be well paid, but he wants me to understand his vision first. The father explains that there was once a keeper, a member of the order, same as us, who believed that there was more beyond our earthly bodies. One day, in the middle of meditation, he vanished into thin air. This was hidden from the holy texts, of course, but the father believes this was the first recorded instance of the transcendence. In the lost pages of the Butcher of Ark that we recovered, it describes the serial killer's initiation into the Black Libra, and it was done in a place called the Room of Paintings, which, coincidentally, he believes is inside the temple they just excavated in the Frostcliff Mountains. This zone is one of the hardest in the game, so come prepared. It doesn't help that the excavation site is on the far side with no quick way to get there, so it's a bit of a hike. As we finally make our way into the camp, Brother Sorrow tells us to prepare ourselves as we wait for the father to arrive. Here, we meet a mercenary named Zara, only that's not her first name, it's her middle name. The father eventually appears, and we make our way into the excavated temple. Here, we discover Zara and another mercenary have met each other before, and there's a quick mention of what we can suspect is Jespar.
By the way, pleasure to work with you again, Zara. I didn't know you were back in Enderal.
And I'm already regretting it. Of course, my first mission had to take me into this bloody ice desert. I'm already missing Kyra.
I bet. Where's your better half, though? What was his name?
Quiet. All right.
We make our way into this weird, eldritch room, and in the center is someone both Zara and I didn't expect to see.
What the?
You? What are you doing here?
Kill it.
No! Wait!
One of the temple's illusions. The father warned us.
And what if it wasn't an illusion? What if his temple, I don't know, teleported him inside somehow?
Him?
Yes.
I understand. We're seeing different things. What about you? What did you see?
A man I know.
Makes sense. So this illusion is somehow tied to our spirits.
By the seven. This is sick.
You knew what you were in for. That barrier over there. Let's take a closer look.
I wonder if Zara also saw Jespar. We need to get past this purple barrier around the corner. There's a series of glyphs on the wall which Theriel is able to translate with a key provided by the father, but he says it's too hard to decipher. The next room is a horror show. Flesh perversions and our father from the very start lunge at us. Inside, we find a heart embedded into a wall of twisting red vines. Theriel runs off, thinking he hears another Rhalâta scream for help, and while he's doing that, Zara and I have a chat. She asks what we saw in the hall. I say a friend, but her reply is quite telling. Again, we actually kind of went over this, but not what happens next.
I saw someone who used to be very important to me. Someone who I trusted. Even though I should have known better. I really thought I was over it by now.
I bet that's Jespar. I bet she saw
13 years, for fuck's sake.
13 years!
13 years. But seeing him back there, even though it was just an illusion, it brought it all back. But, well, I guess that's life, isn't it? It's only on your deathbed as you lie there shitting in your sheets that the past lets go of you once and for all. Kind of pathetic, isn't it?
What?
No. What?
No. Oh. What the? Ow.
The tribute has been offered.
Theriol was actually able to translate the glyphs, and it told him the heart needed a sacrifice to open the door. If you're going phasmalism, like myself, you can grab Zara's soul, although you can never speak with her again. It's a sad moment, and unfortunately there's no way to tell Jespar about it either. These two obviously still cared and thought about each other, but it's too late now. We make our way into another disgusting chamber and fight our way through more flesh perversions into, finally, the last chamber. We see another brother of the Rhalâta sitting here, completely disheveled, by witnessing, no doubt, similar things to us.
By the name of the sun. This place, it's unholy. Wrong. How? I mean, how can this be our path to transcendence?
Are you doubting the Father?
What? No, of course not. Forgive me, brother. I just don't know what to think or feel anymore. But look, that must be it, right? The room of paintings. We made it, brother. We made the Father...
Yeah, you made him proud. Piece of shit.
So, you think that is the room of paintings over there?
The portal. Yes, it fits the description. Come, let's take a closer look. Do you feel that? This power, it's... Wait. Did you hear that?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Aren't we beautiful?
Holy shit.
Bring me a nice crisp piece of meat! Bring me a nice crisp piece of meat!
Oh my gosh, my dad!
Bring me a nice crisp piece of meat!
He's yelling at me.
Oh, that is loud.
Goodbye.
Theriol now calls the father and brother Sorrow to the temple, telling them the way is clear, only to shut the portal behind them as soon as they step through. Theriol's plan has worked. He has the father right where he wants him.
You're here to finally pay for what you did. Children, damn it. They were children. Wilma, Detlef, Sarah, Taurus, Letho. And you couldn't care less. We were just material for you. Human material for your fucking experiments.
That is enough. I will kill them, Father.
No, wait. You remember? You remember what was before? No, don't say anything. You do. By the name of the sun, this is fascinating. But I suppose I should have seen it coming. You always were my masterpiece.
Masterpiece?
You are right, Theriol. I did experiment upon children because they are special. And yes, some of you died in my laboratory. But they would have died anyway.
Children were special? What do you mean?
Oh, isn't it obvious? Their minds, their spirits, they are fresher, untarnished, faster to adapt. Traits that are indispensable for my work.
What do you mean? They would have died even if had you done nothing? Because they were orphans?
No, because they were sick. If you remember your past, Theriol, do you also remember that cough you had? Detlef, Wilma, Sarah, Letho, and you. You were all affected by the foulness, a disease transmitted by rats in the Undercity. Children are especially susceptible to it, and it is always lethal.
Lies. Nothing but lies.
Not yet. Believe me or not, it's the truth. However, I didn't intend to heal them. At least not by conventional methods. There is no cure for foulness. Do you remember that first conversation we had, mercenary? Where I told you about the Rhalata's ultimate goal?
Transcendence. You wanted to free the human mind from its body.
Correct. Before I found out about the Room of Paintings, I conducted a lot of experiments through which I hoped to find a way to achieve it. The dying children were a part of it. My goal was to give them a new artificial vessel to cheat death.
Cheat death?
Yes, to extract their souls and plant them inside another body. The Pyreans did something similar by binding spirits to objects or places, so I tried to apply the same principle in my experiments. Transfer the soul of the dying child into an artificial body. It never worked, however. The soul always lost its identity upon extraction, degenerated into pure magical energy. Eventually, however, I had a breakthrough. Not only did I manage to extract a child's soul, I was also able to transfer it into a simulacrum.
But something went wrong, didn't it?
Yes, I call it the estrangement. The transferred soul somehow begins to realize that something is wrong, which at first manifests in moments of confusion, and finally in the inability to see faces. Yes, Enderal, you heard right. You are my creation. My child. At first I thought your transfer had failed, so I disposed of your flesh. But then, 8 years later, there you stood, in front of the temple, in your right mind, and showing no signs of the estrangement. Sister Pride reappeared too. Both of you had somehow found your ways back to your creator. I was moved.
Your child. All right. Oh, that was a nice story, but I think I've heard enough. The question is...
Remove your mask.
Are you still with me?
Of course.
Do you recognize him, Enderal?
No.
Yes, Enderal. Letho. His procedure went a little differently. His original body died at the exact moment I conducted the transfer. I believe that this is the reason for his lack of humanity. But at the same time, his condition seems to protect him from the estrangement. Unlike Sister Pride and yourself, he still shows no symptoms, and I doubt he ever will.
You're alive? That's not possible. That's just not possible.
I am not the monster you think I am, Enderal. I hope you can finally see that. And no! I am ready to...
After hitting his breaking point, Theriel lunges at the father, and we have a choice to make. Side with our friend, or betray him. Again, there are a few different endings to this story, some of which are dependent on what you did with Calia at the start. If you choose to side with the father, this happens. We're knocked out and watch the father and his disciples step into the Room of Paintings. We pass out, but when we wake up, the room is gone. The only thing remaining is the father's mask.
Farewell, and thank you.
Additionally, there's a note left behind for an additional reward. One of the best mounts in the game with an extremely high base movement speed. Now, let's see the other side. If you side with Theriel, you fight against the father. I really like how they made killing Theriel just like killing any regular warrior, but the father basically is a Dark Souls boss. There are multiple phases to this fight if it didn't glitch out like it did for me, and it's probably the hardest fight in the entire game, but after killing the father and going over to his body, we're unable to loot it, and we see Theriel mourning the loss of his friend Letho. Suddenly, beyond the flames, the father arises and we learn he's nearly half a millennia old. We're knocked out again and see the same cutscene again. The father and Rhalâta walking into the Room of Paintings only for it to disappear. This time when we wake up, we find Theriel at the end of the hallway, along with the corpse of Brother Sorrow. Understandably, he's pretty depressed about what just happened. He basically killed his best and only friend for nothing. You can either convince him to end it all or tell him that he shouldn't give up. If you choose to be nice, you can meet him in your house a bit later dressed as a normal person. Depending on how far you are into the main story, you can also tell him about the cleansing and the cycle, which sort of explains why the father wanted to transcend so badly. He knew the world was about to end, as we all know. There's quite a bit to chat about with them. If you want the full breakdown, again, I have it on my second channel, but for now, we'll wrap up this guild and move on to the next. The second joinable faction in Enderal is the Golden Sickle. This is a merchant guild where you get fat stacks for very little work. Seriously, it's a good representation of the rich get richer, and should generally be the first major questline you complete on any run, as it kickstarts the money-hungry engine that is Enderal's progression systems. Although shorter than the Rhalata questline by a significant margin, the Golden Sickle boasts a more impactful story arc. You can only change about 5% of the Rhalata storyline, but the Sickle is closer to 30%. It's a lot more fluid. Nevertheless, the questline starts in the Golden Sickle's trading post in Ark's marketplace. Here we meet Penny Pouches, the quartermaster of the guild and responsible for the day-to-day operations. He fills us in a bit about the guild's background, how it's the only respectable merchant guild in Enderal, how they control much of the city's commerce, and how the guild provides path-abiding work for upstanding citizens. They're not a criminal organization. Everything they do is legal and ethically sound. At least, that's what we're told. To become a member of the guild, we need to be vouched for by the other members. These are pretty much fetch quests, nothing worth noting, it's just grunt work. After getting as many recommendations as you can talk to Penny Pouches and he'll let you start contract work. The first task is to investigate a farmer who claims his crops aren't growing. Since he's in a contract with the Sickle, he's getting paid for no yield, and Penny Pouches wants me to sleuth out the problem as an anonymous citizen as to not raise suspicion. When we approach the farmer, it's very clear he's doing something suspicious in a field. Once he turns his back, we head into this old ruin and discover, among dozens of undead, a strange strain of mushrooms along with a hiding hole. Someone is living down here and experimenting with alchemy. Further down this tunnel, we find the fungus responsible for destroying the farmer's field.
It's pointless. Even if you kill the mother shroom, the spores will stay in Hafner's soil. For the next 10 years, at least. Hopefully longer.
And you are?
Menhir Harius. But that doesn't matter anymore. No one will remember me a few moons from now.
So I take it you caused this. You planted these mushrooms.
Aye. Well spotted. So go ahead. Take me in, beat me up, whatever. Hope you feel good about it.
This is the first major choice of the guild. You can hear this guy out, or not, and he'll take matters into his own hands. If you choose to hear him out, he tells you how the farmer you're investigating killed his cows in the middle of the night and ruined his livelihood. They were friends, and Menhir here was happy to split his contract with the Sickle, but the farmer wanted it all for himself. If you choose to take his side, the farmer will be arrested for his crimes, and Menhir will be given a loan by the Sickle to purchase more cows. If he decides to go for a swim, then the farmer gets offered a job in Ark to help sustain his family until his farmlands refertilize. Our next task is to investigate a caravan that was supposed to be in Ark a few days ago. When we get there, we discover a massacre. Hooded assassins remark in an unknown language and teleport away, and we're left to investigate the crime scene. When we return back to tell Penny Pouches of the news, he tells us to rush over to the guildmaster, Mael Deloran, to tell him ourselves. Penny Pouches doesn't do a great job at hiding his jealousy here. He thinks we planned this somehow to skyrocket up the ranks, which, coincidentally, is exactly what happens. Not that we planned it, but that we skyrocket up the ranks. We're promoted to Protector, which is basically a caravan guard for the Golden Sickle. Our first assignment as a Protector is to greet a representative of the Blue Islands Coalition. This is a group of very powerful merchants from Calia, which, again, is where the first novel takes place. Calia's government is basically a collection of powerful merchants, and in the book, Jespar works for one of them. Anyway, the Blue Islands Coalition is sending an emissary for a huge trade with the Golden Sickle. These are two very powerful merchant guilds, but we're not sure what they're trading for exactly. After some digging, we find the emissary is in a nearby bathhouse. The whole time they're being referred to as male, so when this person rounds the corner, it's a bit surprising. This is Dejam, a very important character in this questline. There's actually some unique dialogue here if you've progressed to the point of the Naramese invasion, which is really cool. I didn't actually know that they were present in Ark's Harbor for the rest of the game. The ships shoot cannons at you and you can see a crucified bunch of townsfolk. This isn't related to the questline, rather the main story. I just thought it was cool to mention, especially since she has an explanation of how she snuck past them. Anyway, Dejam won't tell us what she's here to buy, but accepts Delloran's invitation to meet at the Sickle. There's an optional quest here to complete where you can talk to Dejam in a nearby bar and learn more about her family and Calia. This is essential to complete if you wish to do her side of the story. After this conversation, we meet Delloran in the basement of the Sickle, who's been investigating the death of the caravan member we saw killed by assassins. Here, he unveils a few important pieces of information. 1. The poison used on this poor guy was a special Calian poison not found in Enderal. 2. The item the Blue Islands Coalition and the Golden Sickle are trading for is the Green Scarabaeus. This is a powerful artifact created by the Lightborn Rhalâta, the patron god of Calia. Through the years, this artifact was bought and sold by many people and now lays in the possession of the Sickle. Well, not exactly. That caravan we saw ambushed, it was carrying the Scarabaeus, and now it's missing. So, Delloran wants us to investigate it further and create a sample of the Calian poison to see if it's a match, which takes a little bit of fetch questing, and when we return with the ingredients, Dejam breaks into the room in a fury.
First, we need to wait for the report from the apothecarius. Then...
You miserable, two-faced bastard! Don't you have any respect?
I could ask you the same thing.
Have I heard correctly that you seriously believe we had something to do with the ambush on your caravan?
What I believe is that there have been a series of peculiar coincidences, which we are investigating. No more, no less.
Peculiar coincidences. I see. As peculiar as the fact that you coincidentally forgot to inform us that the Scarabaeus has been stolen by a bunch of bandits?
Leave. Now.
The Blue Islands Coalition will learn of this accusation. Be sure of that.
After this outburst, we have another choice to make. Side with Dejam or side with Delloran. I decide to side with Dejam for this character because she has two unique endings for her side and conspire against Delloran. Dejam's sources claim that this ambush was actually done by someone inside the Golden Sickle, an inside job to frame the Blue Islands Coalition and drive up the bargaining price. Her source points her to a cave, which we investigate, only to find two Golden Sickle members there. One gets away before I can kill him, but there's a note in the nearby crate signed by Delloran himself, stating how everything is going to plan and how he plans to sell the Green Scarabaeus in a different country. When we report this back to Dejam, she's furious and locks down the Sickle's trading post with her guards. She threatens to kill anyone who tries to leave until Delloran answers for his crimes, and she's not joking. This escalates into a full-out brawl, and we're forced to kill the very people we swore to protect and even helped out at the start of the questline. We need to flee the scene of the crime, but Ark's guards have locked down every gate, and the only option is for Dejam to turn herself in and hope that I can bust her out later. After a few nights pass, we break into the prison and into Dejam's cell, only to discover that she's being beaten for information about Delloran. For some reason, the guards think that she's kidnapped him, which she hasn't. We've been with her the whole time. In fact, she's looking for him. There's a third party at play here, but right now, we're not sure who. During our escape, we hear a representative of the Blue Islands Coalition offer to pay the Golden Sickle for the inconvenience, and also give up Dejam to be dealt with as they please. The guild Dejam devoted her life to sold her out without a second thought. I mean, she did slaughter a bunch of people and kind of went nuts, but still, it clearly hurt her feelings. Stupidly, this prison is built with a secret door to a nearby theater, and inside we find Daloran chained up with the green scarabaeus in front of him. As Dejam steps forward, she's hit with some kind of poison arrow, and we confront the mastermind behind this plan, Penny Pouches. He has this huge monologue here about how he hates rich people, hates what merchants stand for, and wants to punish these two specifically and pit the two guilds against each other in a war. Bit ironic given his position at the sickle, but we faintly notice his eyes are red, that he's been infected with the red madness. After his posturing about all the people these merchants have hurt, which he did himself not too long ago, he unleashes his guards on me, the same ones we saw at the caravan scene. This boss fight is pretty cool because there's actually mechanics to it. You have to get them both down at the same time, then weaken their soul link to eventually kill them. It took me a few tries. With the enemies defeated, the antidote removed from their bodies, and Dejam cured, we can now explore a few of the ending options for this questline. The first one we can do is steal the green scarabaeus and run away together. This can only be done if her reputation is at full and lets you have an intimate moment, which I don't think I can show on YouTube. From here, you can let her sell it, which leaves you empty-handed and abandoned, or you can try and persuade her to let you sell it now. If you do that, she gets a little upset. The plus side of this is that you can try and fence the artifact yourself, which will reward you with 400 gold. Okay, let's try the other side. If we try to smooth things over between the two merchant guilds to prevent any further bloodshed, she also gets mad because she wants the artifact for herself and tries to kill you. However, this time guards intervene, they get your story down, and mediate talks between the Sickle and Coalition. You also get 600 gold, which I think is the highest of all of the options. As I said though, Daloran's side is completely different and well worth a second try to see. This questline takes about 4 hours to do, and I was running out of time. This was the last thing I recorded, so unfortunately I didn't have time to show it in this video. On that note, you may notice that this video is coming to a close and we haven't covered any side content. Technically we touched on the guilds, but those are main story for the Forgotten Story DLC, so not exactly side content. Enderal's quest design is so well done and complex, I didn't feel like I would do them justice if I tried to squeeze them into this video. If you watch my Let's Play series, you know I was doing a fair bit of side content as I was progressing through the main story. There are so many interesting missions taking you to completely new lands and unveiling fascinating stories, I just felt like they deserved an appropriate spotlight. I'm also reading through all of Enderal's lore books, like all of them, and I want to highlight my top 3 too, which I can't do in this video just due to the runtime. So, as I said at the start, a week or two from the release of this video, I should have another one covering my favorite pieces of side content. I'll link it on screen now if the video is out, and I'll link it in the description too. If there's no link, it means the video's not released yet. For now, though, that marks the end of my adventure through Enderal's main story, both for base game and DLC. I will continue to put out Let's Plays of this run as I dive deeper into the side quests, so be sure to check out my second channel and follow me on Twitch for live streams. If you haven't played this game yet, please do, and let me know in the comments what you thought about it. It would honestly just make my day if someone tries it because of this video, because when I stumbled across it for the first time a few years ago, I was shocked at how amazing it was and how little marketing it had. Please give this game a try. You won't regret it. I'm not sponsored. I'm not paid. I don't know why people think I'm paid to promote this. They did that on my last video. I'm not. If you would like a spoiler-free guide on how to play the game because the mechanics are a bit tricky, I will link that down below too, although we kind of went through all the spoilers, so I don't think that really matters, but the guide will still teach you how to play. Enderal, in my opinion, has so many amazing things about it. In my mind, it's a superior game to Skyrim in almost every way imaginable. Truly, this might be one of the best pieces of Skyrim content ever made, and is well deserving of the title for modded Skyrim's magnum opus. Huge thank you to my members who make these videos possible. If you'd like to get early access to videos, support the channel directly, and get a bunch of cool perks, consider becoming a member. Special shout out to Jason, SauceDaddy86, Metalhead443, Designated Medic, and AB for the additional support. Becoming a member is completely optional, but I appreciate it all the more. I've been Frostbreak. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.